everybody, my name is Shannon and I am still waiting for my Seder. Today we are talking about not one, but two books, PhoneGap by Lauren Ruby and Rebel Spring by Morgan Rhodes. Originally, these books were going to have their own separate videos because the book I'm listening to right now, I didn't think I'd really have anything to say about it. It's kind of just one of my guilty pleasure books, but then it just hit me over the head with its amazing commentary on women's rights. So yeah, it's actually going to get a video. So today we're just going to talk a little bit about Rebel Spring and then mostly talk about PhoneGap because oh my god, I thought it was just going to be a little casual read, just, you know, like whatevs, but no, it was just like, boom, you're gonna have feelings because this book was just, amazing and it just, oh my god. As a reminder, if you ever see this spoiler warning up on the screen, please hit mute if you do not want me to spoil the books for you. Okay, so first let's talk a little bit about Rebel Spring. Now, I never remember as much about this book as I do the others, and that's mostly just because nothing exactly happens. They're mostly just throwing information at you because Fallen Kingdoms really introduces you to the series, the whole storyline, and it's kind of like a pilot book, and then you get to this one and they're like, okay, no, everything's much more complicated than you think it is, there's a lot more going on, and it just kind of throws this information at you. Because of this, I kind of tend to forget a lot of the minor but major things that happen because I'm really focusing on trying to remember all of the information that we're getting, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it does knock my review down from a 5 to a 4.5 because I feel like it takes me out of the story because I have to concentrate on remembering, you know, all of the details. However, I do like what does happen in this book, and that is that it kills characters that you think are major, and it sinks all my ships, which is not awesome. I read this the first time and I'm like, oh, my ships are sinking, what do I do? And I'm like, maybe they'll be okay, and then I get to Gathering Darkness and I'm like, no, my ships just go out the window, and it's just great. And every time I read this book, I forget that this one character dies. I always forget. Then I get to that part and I'm just like, he dies? And I'm like, of course he dies. You remember that. It gets me every time. It's very sudden. But overall, Rebel Spring is definitely necessary to the series. However, it's the information book where you have to know everything because otherwise nothing else makes sense. Moving right along, now let's talk a little bit about PhoneGap. Okay, so I was just scrolling through my library because I needed something to read and I couldn't find anything, and I just came across this and I'm like, you know what, let's just give it a try. I don't know anything about it, but let's just go ahead and read it. I had read some reviews on Goodreads, which I always do before I pick up a new book that I've never seen before, and they all say that the story is meh. It's the commentary behind the words that is what really gets you. So I was very intrigued, and at first I really wasn't into it that much at all. It kind of starts slow, but then all of a sudden it just started building and hitting me over the head with just all of this information, and it was amazing. The messages that you get out of all of these characters' backstories is just so beautiful, and I never could have seen it coming. While PhoneGap is about this girl who gets kidnapped and kind of about how life goes on afterwards, what it's really about is that people who think they know who you are probably wrong, because you're never all that you seem to be on the surface. We see that heavily with the main character Finn, with his brother Sean, with Patty, the girl next door, and especially with Rosa, the girl who goes missing. I just so identified with Sean, which I never thought was going to happen. I thought I was going to identify with Finn, but as I read the book and we got Sean's backstory, oh my god, I have to maybe discover things about myself that I never really thought about before. They really drive the message home about how you don't really know who people are, when you find out that Finn is face blind, which just means that he isn't good with faces. He like literally can't remember what your face looks like, so he has to like remember who you are based off of your hair or what you're wearing or the way you move, which he found out in the book, and it kind of turned his world upside down because he didn't even know this about himself. But it shows you that he sees people for who they really are because he doesn't see their face. He doesn't care if people don't think you're pretty. He doesn't care if like people think other weird things about you. He just knows like who you are because of just how you move, and he makes his own assumptions, and it's just really amazing. There's this girl that lives close to them. Her name is Priscilla, but she hates it, so she goes by Petey, and he falls in love with her. Everyone thinks that she is really ugly, and everyone says these terrible things about her, but he doesn't care. He falls in love with her because of who she is, and that is just gorgeous. I love seeing that in a book, and her backstory and his just together, it was absolutely amazing. I also love how with Rosa we see that beautiful people are not just these superficial, like whatever, only care about like the way they look and whatnot. Rosa is like considered by everyone to be the absolute most beautiful girl ever, but she doesn't really care. She just wants to have her education and do whatever, and her beauty actually lands her in a lot of tough situations where men are trying to take advantage of her. That's why she gets kidnapped, and she shows us that it doesn't matter what you look like, it matters who you are, which she like really demonstrates by like slicing her face at the end. It's just so symbolic, and this book was just like filling my head and giving me so much to think about, and it was just amazing, and I love it. Have I told you how amazing this book is? Everyone needs to go read it because it's just absolutely beautiful. I gave it a 4 because it is slow. The story itself isn't amazing, but the messages just, like it's just, it's amazing. Read it. Just go read it. Just go read it. Overall, I wanted to talk about these books together not only because, you know, my schedule and whatnot, but also because both of them demonstrate that people wear masks. People don't show you who they are. They don't divulge all that information, which there's nothing wrong with that. But people need to understand that because once you know that people aren't who they are on the surface, you can't judge them. You have to know a person to truly judge them. Now, that doesn't mean that, you know, you're automatically going to stop being a super judgmental person. I'm a super judgmental person, but normally I'm just kidding. You have to understand that people are more than just a pretty face. They're more than just what they look like on the surface. You have to see them for who they are on the inside, and both of these books demonstrate that beautifully, and I highly recommend both of them. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. I talk books every Monday, and keep an eye out on the dcast.com. I just wrote 2 posts about Disney princesses, one about how they have influenced my life and how I look up to them, they're great role models, and the other one is about 3 that actually aren't deserving of the title of a role model. So check those out, they'll be coming out soon. That is everything I got for you today, guys. I'll see you next week. Bye!